Well, hello and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Q&A where I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Pugh, who is a business consultant. He is an author and he's the creator of the Roadmap MBA, which I have here. I have a copy of the textbook that goes with the Roadmap MBA. So how are you doing, Steve?
Yeah, good. Thank you. And I joked before we came on air. It's so different to be on the other side of the questions. So in theory, I always try and be authentic in stuff that I do. So I don't know what you're going to ask. But then I've also said to you before the call, like, because we're going to talk about the course and stuff as well. It's almost, I want the genuine feedback because actually for me, that's what makes it better and makes it good.
Yeah.
But then likewise, because I help people on their journey, but because I'm on my own journey myself, I always try and do what I think is the right thing to do. So I'm really looking forward to this in terms of just giving people some genuine, honest, genuine kind of feedback, hearing it from you. But then likewise, just sharing the story about how we got there, because actually I think it's relevant to help people figure out how they move themselves forward, if that makes sense. So I'm absolutely kind of delighted to be here. I watch all your stuff on YouTube. So
Good. Well, I'm going to ask you some good questions, but I'm going to bring out the best in you. But I think what you just said there is you're not just some people are advisors, but they've never actually run their own business, or they might be coaches, but they're not running businesses. But you're a practitioner as well, and you're actually living and breathing this stuff yourself as well. So I think that comes across with everything that you're doing with your videos, but also the course that you put together, the MBA that you put together, but just generally as a person, when you meet you as well, you understand this, you understand what it's like to start and grow businesses, because you're doing it your own business, but also you have worked at a senior level for other established businesses. You've been a managing director, you've been a head of business development, head of strategy and marketing. So you've seen it at all levels, and you know what the challenges are, even when you were a tiny business, a one-person business, a micro business, all the way up to a SMEs can have up to 250 employees, but they still have different challenges, no matter what size you're at. So do you want to just briefly say a little bit about your background and in industry and how you got started with your own business?
Yeah, no problem. So I was born and raised in Liverpool. And it's funny actually, because from a working class background, especially in Liverpool, you get very good at blagging stuff. If there's a way to scam something, get something for free, you figure it out very quickly. But one of the things that's always been quite useful is that I am also quite academic. So I'm an engineer by trade. I'm a chartered mechanical engineer. I've got 2 master's degrees. I studied for a PhD at Sheffield Uni. So I'm very good technically. But actually, because I think my background and we're also quite creative, I've always been good at both combining the two, if that makes sense. So some people have said it's the logical and lateral thinking. That throughout my career, I've always been good at absorbing a lot of different information, but then figuring out how you bring it together to basically do things and solve things in a way that, for whatever reason, other people haven't done before. But yeah, born and raised in Liverpool, went to uni in Sheffield. Graduated, I used to work in Jamaica, so it was on big Kia construction. It was $100 million bauxite chemical refinery. So big, massive, like mega projects. I was a project engineer out there. 2008 recession hit, lost my job, came back to England. True story, this actually. So I was offered different jobs in lots of different places. But actually, there was a girl I was trying to win back who's now my wife, and she was back in Sheffield. So the only reason I went back to Sheffield to do a PhD was to try and win this girl back. And and luckily it worked, and she's now my wife. But it was almost it was that kind of, when you just make a foolish, stupid decision to go to a city to try and win this romantic girl back, and then to kind of see where it goes. Anyway, so I was doing a PhD, and I was on a full academic scholarship, which was £13,000 a year, which after working overseas, it's not bad, but it's not great. So to start earning some extra money, I started my first photography business. And that's why I know how to do all the cameras and lights and stuff, because I've been doing it for a long, long time. But what was quite interesting was that I used to get my scholarship in quarters. You get paid quarterly. So that combined with the savings from what I had from Jamaica, I gambled it all to basically buy all the camera equipment, buy the iMac, buy all the stuff. That then when I launched this business, if I couldn't make the money back in 3 months, I couldn't pay my rent. And when you kind of really put your cock on the block to do that level of, you're homeless if you can't sell and make this whole business from scratch work in 3 months' time. But luckily it did, and it did really well and that kind of thing. But then using the same skill set that I was kind of taught on my PhD to solve problems, and that was all to do with aircraft landing gear. I've always kind of followed that through my career. So following Love in 2010-ish, I moved back up. I say back up. I followed my wife back up to the Northeast. Started working at the Local Enterprise Partnership, which is now the Combined Authority in Tees Valley. And my job there was actually to look at policy for offshore wind investment. We're obviously doing some really big announcements today on that, which is great. And I was involved with that. But then using the same kind of skill set, my job was to work with and look after a lot of the offshore energy companies in the region. And one of the issues they had, and there's a reason why I'm telling this story, is that because there was a big limitation on post-recession, nobody had any cash to bid on these like 20 million pound big projects. And I was able to listen to a lot of different areas, to the banks, to the accountants, to the companies, whoever. And I figured out a way that had never been done before in the world to use government money to help unlock real contracts for real businesses that just wouldn't have otherwise happened. And it's now called the Tees Valley Catalyst Fund, run by FW Capital, if you know FW. But that has since gone on to unlock hundreds of millions of pounds and hundreds of jobs for the Northeast that only happened through being able to problem solve in a way that had never been done before. And it's, so I've used these skills before and I've proven it again and again. Anyway, worked public sector for 3 years, loved it. It was the best job I've ever had. Was poached back to the private sector. And then gradually, because I'm really kind of good at this, I was promoted and did different things. Became managing director of an international company in Durham at 33 to kind of turn that company around. It was losing money at the time, and we doubled profits in 18 months and did all this great stuff. I was headhunted to be Techmar Group PLC's first employee after the flotation. And my job there as a management consultant was to, in theory, oversee the acquisition, but also to do the business strategy for how we buy the first acquisition and make more money, and how do we integrate it into the group. But truth be told, I knew that wasn't the right cultural fit for me, and I actually knew quite quickly. But I was there for quite a long time, for 18 months. In October 19, I set up on my own to basically do what I do now, where I work with a lot of different companies to basically help them figure out how to make money. And one of the big differences, and actually I remember the first time we sat down at Tuss Park, is that because I am a practitioner, because I like practice and stuff, because I do it every day, you get really good at it. But it's when you work with a company, I don't just tell them what to do, I'll actually do it for them as well, be it run the sales team, or in one case, I help run the company for them. But that's a crucial difference, that when you're willing to put your neck on the line, your own reputation, as well as teach people how to do it, hopefully it kind of just adds a bit more credibility. And then through that, you build reputation and stuff. And then as of 3 weeks ago, I launched the Roadmap MBA, which is this, which Paul has a copy of. And basically that is all to do with, all throughout my career, I had to learn everything from scratch. So I was reading hundreds of books, luckily working in a lot of companies, a lot of SMEs, but they were high growth companies, to learn what works, learn what doesn't work, because I was practicing these things. And basically I wrote them down. I actually had a book, and it was a Microsoft Word document that was it looked pretty bad, but the content was starting to build. That after, ironically, it was after lockdown started, and I both thought, actually, I think it's a big opportunity with live streaming to kind of learn how to do that. So I started to invest in the kit. But then actually how to turn the concept of the book, which was called the Growth Strategy Roadmap. And if you remember, I was meant to be a speaker at your Startup Week last year about that. And basically it was to hone it into a business course that other people can use to basically pick up for 2 minutes or 2 hours to help them grow their business. But that actually covers start to finish everything you need to know, from both setting the goal, but actually the big pieces about business strategy. How do you actually make money? How can you outthink your competition? Then into your marketing and your branding and your sales, and all the way through to an exit at the end. And actually, the more I kind of did my homework on it, I'm just conscious I'm talking a lot. So I'm conscious. But nobody had ever done it before. If you go into Waterstones or anywhere, there's a lot of sales books and there's marketing books and the strategy books. But actually figuring out how you can use business strategy or sales techniques to improve every stage of the process, using the same skills and techniques that I used in my PhD, that I used when I created the Catalyst Fund, which unlocked hundreds of millions of pounds, and again, that I use at businesses. It's teaching people to do that themselves in a way that I can now grow and scale. But then likewise, because I am quite creative and I did all the graphic design, everything myself, I want to keep getting it better and better. So ironically, it's not actually about making money. It's about trying to help as many people as I can. And almost when people seem to get value from it, when you've put years of work into something, it's quite nice. It gives you a little like tickle on the tummy that, you know, that makes it all worthwhile. So that's me in 10 minutes. I'm really sorry.
No, amazing. But you know, like, well, we're going to go into more detail about the Roadmap MBA and what's involved in that in a minute. But the thing I would say on that is, you know, that to me just comes, you know, you have got real practical experience of running businesses, growing businesses, starting new businesses. To me, entrepreneurship is very creative, but like one of the most creative things you can do. And you know, you do have that sort of logical, practical engineering background, but you have got the creative side to you as well. And you're clearly a problem solver, a creative problem solver who can listen to, absorb information, and then think creatively how to move forward with that and come up with a solution. And that is a real skill that not many people have that. So I do think that is a strength that you've got, the ability to do that.
If you remember the first time I was ever introduced to you was the Founders Friday event at Tuss Park. And after the event, actually, you know, that was a completely new sector to me. It was all, I didn't know anyone in the room. I since hopefully now know more people. But we actually sat down afterwards and, you know, I was interested to pick your brains about Plan Digital and everything you were doing. And the one thing that I am good at is listening, but I can piece it together very quickly. And if you remember, in like 10 minutes, we'd mapped out all your revenue streams, what you were going to do, how you could move forward. And it's that I'm very good at. That likewise, a big part of the course, whenever you create anything, you're always trying to find what's your USP. And the big thing for me is that, yeah, there are hundreds of business courses out there that will give you all the theory, but the ability to actually ask questions and pick my brains. Now, I have people from professional boxers to politicians to loads of different people just say, how do I do this? And just being able to answer straight away, but then combine the creativity of the stuff that I really enjoy doing, like creating the textbooks and the live streams and stuff. Hopefully what I'm trying to do is just create a package which brings real value, but also it's quite hard to copy because I don't think people could live answer questions and demonstrate their knowledge. So I'm trying to just build my thing around that. So
well, just quickly, I was working it out. It was just before Christmas 2019. That was the first time we met. So I think we met at the, well, like you say, Founders Friday, but then we had another meeting in Tuss Park in the co-working space, and we just sat down and talked about what you were doing and what I was doing and what you were hoping to achieve. And like immediately, I was just really impressed with you and the way you talked about what you were doing, what you wanted to do. Kind of definitely the passion and the drive that I was like, wow, this guy's like really serious. He really wants this, and he's got some fantastic ideas how he's going to do that. And you've done it. Like you've put it into practice. What you know, you've done everything you said you were going to. You already had the growth strategy roadmap written as a book. Like you say, you've got stuck in with all your live streaming, all the interviews. That's been impressive how you've done that. You've grown your network really quickly. You've been going to lots of events. You've been building your network online, offline, despite COVID. The fact that you've even created this thing is incredible because like the quality of it. I was saying just before we went live, it's bloody amazing. Like what you've done. Like we're going to talk about what's in it, right? But it's not just a textbook. There's a lot more to that. So it's the Roadmap MBA. It's a 216-page textbook, which I've got here. It's over 100 online tutorials and videos. It's live weekly Q&A sessions that you're running. But then, as you say in the book as well, the real USP, it's the access to you. It's 12 months access to you and others. Whenever someone needs help starting or growing a business, they get access to that. That's all included in the program. So you're right. I'm not aware of anyone else that's doing anything like this.
Well, it's I think what it is, because when you're MD of a company, And it's funny actually. So a lady yesterday recently got promoted. She's now an MD of a new digital business on Teesside. I think it's page 210. There's something I call the new CEO checklist, and
Yeah.
nobody teaches you how to do that. And it's the idea of, I think there's 17 different things just to consider. And in the book, we how to do them. But there's nobody actually teaches you how to do that and how to get the best out of your team. But what I've also tried to do is that, for instance, there's a brilliant book called Spin Selling by a guy called Neil Rackman, and it teaches you how to do high value technical selling. It's 330 odd pages. It's very in depth, but the truth is you can break that down into 2 pages if you want to. And what I've tried to do across hundreds of different sources is take really complicated information, make it simple, make it accessible, but then show how you can use it all together. So I know Roadmap now is Boris stole the term, but it's almost where it's to guide people all the way through, because a lot of people, I work with a food entrepreneur out of Middlesbrough, and he admitted that he was kind of just winging it to think what he thought was the right thing to do, watching Gary Vee on YouTube, but actually there's no clear strategy, if that makes sense. And actually, there's things that a lot of people, if they start out as a freelancer, because I know a lot of the startup community are people that either want to start their own business, or they're in a career but they want to progress, or they're in an established business but actually they're not making that much money. It's to be able to actually think, how can you fundamentally solve the ecosystem? So I remember, I think, Paul, you were at the talk I gave at the marketing meetup in Newcastle, which was at Tuspark.
Yeah.
And the 20-minute talk was all about how, if you create a very good ecosystem for your product or service, for one, you can make a lot more money, but you can have people come into your ecosystem very easily. So for instance, in your example, you've got the free content that you put out on YouTube and stuff, which is great. You've got the year-long community on Facebook, which is a lower price point. But then you've got, if they want to hire you, you can pay more. You've got tribes. You've created a really good ecosystem that if people want Paul Lancaster, they can either start free, but you can start to generate a machine for how you generate profits and how you choose to balance that. But most people don't realize that. They might put all their hopes on just the scalable app, for instance. But then they run out of money after 3 months. And it's just the ability to transition between doing consultancy, doing paid stuff with your longer term ambitions. But because I practice this every day and I'm also doing it myself, because one thing's actually, I know you've spoken in the past on like visualization, and when you do things like that, is that I said right from the very start, I even put it front page on my website, this is how my business works in terms of consultancy, training and education, investing in scalable businesses. And actually, that's what I've delivered. So part of the reason why I put so much effort into the live stream and the textbook and stuff is just because I want people to think that if they work with me, it's going to be high quality. But it's all about just being honest and being very, transparent with people, so that if they want to join me on the journey or you on yours, they know what they're getting. But likewise, if I'm not for you, that's fine. Do someone else's course. But for me, it's that humility that hopefully we both try and get across, is that we're real people too. We're going through our own kind of journeys, but actually we do have value to give. So for instance, on your, I'm just plugging you now, but it's on your 5-star program. So Chris Nutman raved about how good it was for him to pick your brains and get access to things in a way that he probably wouldn't be able to do on his own. And that's the ability to find good people in the network that have kind of proven that they know what they're doing. And then just being able to dip in or dip out and use it as and when, because people have their own challenges and they've got busy lives. And I think one of the things actually, so I said before the call, I just come back from a walking meeting in Riverside Park in Durham. And the guy that I was meeting with, very senior executive, very well known, really important job. And the thing that I didn't know until an hour ago was actually he really took comfort during lockdown that we both do podcasts and interviews. And actually you've been a guest before. But there's a lot of stuff that you do if you genuinely kind of put yourself out there, that there's a lot of people that watch, even if they don't interact with it, but you're helping improve people's lives and helping them get through tough times, or even just giving them ideas, even if you don't know it. And that's the value in trying to create the ecosystem. But it is scary to kind of create something and put it out into the world. And I must admit, when you spend so long on something, so I did say with the textbook, when I first started to send those packs out, it was scary not knowing what feedback you're going to get. But touch on wood, it has been quite well received. So.
No, I love it. Sorry, but definitely the quality of it. I knew it would be anyway, because everything that you do is quality, right? But like I first saw pictures of the textbook online, and then when it arrived through the post, it's like the packaging, like really, really high quality packaging. You open up the packaging, it's got a lovely letter, written by you about what it's all about. It's got even things like, just like all this stuff, buy one, buy one, gift one, the real magic happens online. And then the book itself, like, you can't help but be impressed by what you've done, and like the time and effort and no doubt cost that's gone into creating this. It does really set you apart. Like nobody would fail to be impressed with that when they open it. You know what I mean? So there's so much online stuff now that when you do get something physical through the post, it does really stand out. And I hope lots and lots of people will watch this and sign up for your Roadmap MBA off the back of it. But just going on to your touchdown, I'm going to talk about the things that I like the most about the Roadmap MBA as well. But definitely the new CEO checklist I think is great, because I've been self-employed since 2016. So Plan Digital is my business, which Newcastle Startup Week and everything around that is run by Plan Digital. But Plan Digital is me. I am the business, and I bring people in as and when I need to on a freelancer basis. But I've just set up this new business, Tribes, with 2 co-founders. So I am the CEO of this new business. I've never been a CEO before. I've been like a founder and a director and an event producer and a consultant and
a DJ
and all that, but I've never been a CEO. So like I can read books and there's loads of stuff, but nobody's ever just put it together in a checklist. Like, what's the first 12 to 18 months for a CEO look like? So
it's the facts on that one, but it's 1 page. And what I'm trying to do is give a lot of value per page. I'm one of these people that hate fluff. And likewise, when you kind of really understand your target audience, say for business owners, if you can say something in 10 words, it's ironic because I talk a lot and I'm very conscious about how much I talk. But anyway, but if you could say something in 10 words instead of 200, do it. And so if you can give value in a concept in 2 paragraphs instead of a 400-page book, do it. And that's the kind of thing that when you know your target audience, ironically, a lot of business owners didn't go to university, which is absolutely fine. But ironically, some of them therefore don't necessarily trust universities and some academics purely because they try and make themselves sound smart and almost to the point, it's a self-esteem kind of thing. But that can alienate your audience if you make things more complicated than they need to be. So ironically, and there are some spell mistakes in there, which I've spotted, but there's 60,000 words, so there's going to be some.
I haven't studied yet. Don't tell anyone.
but it's, just being honest, because other people will launch their own stuff too. And it's almost, you always talk about, and I know one of your favorite books is about the lean startup and how you get your minimum viable product out there and launch it and learn and iterate, because you've talked about that at Startup Week. This is me learning, because likewise, when you see version 2, it will be so good. And likewise, I'm really looking to my production quality in terms of my life, like everything. That for me, I do because I enjoy it. I don't do it to make money. But the idea is that how can you just give as much value as possible? And it's trying to figure out how to do that. But when we were saying before about how you always have a lot of different people or consultants or coaches or whatever, when someone offers to help you scale your business, that's great. And I'm sure they have a lot of value to give. But if they can demonstrate firsthand and you can see how they're scaling their own business, like physical stuff as well, hopefully there's a lot more credibility to it. And it's that kind of thing. Ironically, that when one of the people I sent the pack to was down in Cambridge, and I'll paraphrase because they didn't mean it like this, but what they basically said, are we allowed to swear? I won't in case it's Facebook. But what they basically politely said in a nice way, who do you think you are to write a book like this? You're not famous. You're not a famous author. What makes you good enough? But I think part of that was because they didn't know me. They didn't know my background and that kind of thing. But my argument was, and your previous guest last week was Charlotte Nichols from Harvey and Hugo. And I love Charlotte. And I had a really good chat with Charlotte because there's the balance between personal brand, which we talk about, and again, we cover in the course. But for me, being maybe an engineer, I want to be known for producing something which is really people get great value from, and you build social proof over time that you become known for that, as opposed to having a good brand, but actually the substance isn't there.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, that person that you sent that, do you know them? Like, are you? Well, do you know what? Like, who do you think you are? Well, you're Steve Pugh. You've created the Roadmap MBA. Like, you've done that. You've picked yourself. You don't need to be picked by anyone else. Don't wait to be chosen. Pick yourself.
Well, this is what's interesting again when you then start to talk about mindset and that kind of thing, because one of the big things that people always think about is imposter syndrome. And it's really funny because I've never, even from when I was a kid, I wasn't shy. You know, I'd get up on stage, I'd do this stuff. But even when it's the right thing to both listen to criticism, because likewise, what I almost took from it is that if you get 99 good comments about stuff, and they're my core target market, I still listen to the others because it helps me learn and improve, because it makes me realize that for a certain segment of the audience, I haven't clicked that box. And then it's a decision on whether you choose to or not. But even me, and I hopefully I'm quite good at this, even I still second guess myself sometimes. And it's trying to think, no, this is the right thing to do. I know it's good. And then when you get the good feedback and stuff, it just makes you think, actually, I am going to keep going. I am going to keep reinvesting.
It's quality. Honestly, it's so high quality. So when you're saying it's just lean startup minimum viable product first version, if that's your first version, that is not a minimum viable product. That is a fantastic high quality product. So yeah, and all your videos as well. And a lot of people say they want to write a book or they want to do a course, but they never do it. You've done it. You've already written the growth strategy roadmap as a book. Now you've created this online course and physical textbook as well. Like, so many, almost everybody would never do that. So straight away, you are elevated to a certain level that guy, whoever it is, if it's not for them, it's not for them. But but that to me sounds more like they're annoyed that they haven't done it than that you have.
But almost, because one of the big things for any business, if you ever do your own thing, you always have to think about you should always consider your competitors. What are they really good at? What are they better than you at? And one of the things that's got me is that there's a guy called Vern Hamish. You might know him. Actually, you might even be on your bookshelf behind you. He's got a course called Scaling Up. And actually, he franchises that, and then he has franchisees around the world that deliver the course. And what's quite funny is that you can hire the consultant to help you, but they essentially just follow you through the textbook, but they'll charge you £1,000 a day to do it. But the irony is that the textbook's 28 quid on Amazon, but it's actually really, really good. And actually, the more I looked at Vern Hamish and I found him on YouTube and stuff, he himself is really, really good. He's really smart, really switched on. So that's where the talent is. But it's when you're then, one of the big things for me, because again, I grew up kind of working class, quite poor, that kind of thing, is that you mentioned before the buy one, gift one initiative. I had to learn this all from scratch, but business education is historically really expensive. It's quite elitist. Everything seems to be held behind like a firewall kind of thing, and quite an expensive one. So in the creation of the buy one, gift one, and you can register at guest list at roadmapmba.com. For every business that buys one, I will gift one and get away to someone that needs it, needs the help. And what the idea is, it's trying to make business education accessible to everyone, removing the barriers to people from different communities, different backgrounds. Or likewise, being honest, if you and your friend are both starting up and you're tight for cash, just go halves. I'm not going to tell anyone. But the point is, it's a way that, have you ever heard of Tom's Shoes? They're really successful. So that's the guy that every pair of shoes that you buy, they donate one to people that need it. And it was that gave me the idea. But in business education, nobody had ever done that, if that makes sense. And what I was trying to do is almost just take all the lessons, all the things I'd ever learned from every different place, bring it in one place. But then actually, obviously, it's not free because 12 months of support, it takes a lot of my time. So I need to charge for it. But by comparison to hiring me to do stuff, like people send me WhatsApp messages now and they drop me a message on LinkedIn. Steve, when should I launch my product? When do I start doing this? I've got my questions in front of me for tomorrow. How do I grow my business? What do I choose to do next? How do you get your value recognized in a business? But because I've been there and done it, I'm both being the person who's good and talented in a career that they feel their boss isn't recognizing their value. I've both been the MD, but likewise been that person that now you kind of step back. You can actually give some really good advice to people to help them build confidence in what to do or how to negotiate the pay rise and stuff, because I've kind of been there.
Yeah.
And it's just, but I love just working with people, but I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible. So.
I love that because you're right. Like, education is expensive. And I just think about when I was at university, buying all the textbooks, how expensive they were, and even the secondhand books were expensive. And
nobody reads them. There's a guy who's downstairs in the building I'm in, and he's done a proper MBA, and he said that basically when he did his MBA, he was told to read 60 odd textbooks, which cost a fortune. But the truth is, he didn't read them. Nobody does. You do the coursework and stuff. But he said, I would have loved just one place, super simple, just the real world skills that he can take his business, figure out how to get its USPs, get its value proposition, sell it, promote it, but make it cheap and affordable and accessible that I don't believe anyone else does. And it's that kind of, it's the real world straight to the solution is kind of what the USP is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what people want, like, I think, I don't know what the cost is now. If you did like a traditional MBA, how was that, 20,000 or something? It's very expensive, and it takes
on average they're between 20 and 90 grand a year. Wow. But the big thing is that's 2 years full time of your life that you have to donate to do it. And actually, if you've got the money and the time to do it. It's brilliant. But a lot of people don't. And again, COVID, there's been a lot of people who, so for instance, when I'd been working overseas, global recession, 2008. Okay, I went back to Sheffield to win a girl back, which was a bit foolish. But I was on 13 grand a year, which is now, okay, with inflation, but it's minimum wage. And it was just learning how to supplement your income to do that. Nobody teaches you how to do that.
I know. Well,
go on. Sorry. But so many people post-COVID that are worried about the job. They can't find a job. They want to start their own thing, but actually they don't always know where to start. And that's the whole point of this. And then especially if they register at guest list at roadmapmba.com, they can have it for free. And that's the kind of, I'm not doing this to make money, although I hopefully, it will, but it's trying to just do what I think is the morally right thing to do. Yeah.
Well, you do need to make money because you're not a charity, you are running a business, but it is affordable. Like the price that you're charging for it, I think it's a good price. It's the right price to charge for what's available for it. I mean, like you say, just quickly, the MBA, a traditional MBA. Sometimes I think people do a traditional MBA, because they hope that it's going to get them a promotion, or they hope it's going to get them the next job, or sometimes they're doing it to make themselves feel better, to give them a bit more sort of belief in themselves that they've got these this qualification. But actually, you don't need that to be successful in a career or to start your own business, right? And what a lot of people need is just practical tips and advice on how to get started, how to get cracking, and they don't want to spend a year or 2 years learning that or buying loads of books. And not everyone likes reading books. So this is the thing. You've taken all of that information that you've learned yourself, hands-on experience, all the books that you've read, the expertise that people have shared with you, and you've curated it together. You've condensed it into this really well put together textbook and online program. And I think, just generally speaking, that there's no shortage of content out there. You just go on Google and YouTube, and you can probably find out something. But in a way, we don't need more content. We need better curation, and that's what you've done. You've curated everything together.
It's the ability to ask questions. Is that a lot of people don't like to read. I don't mind it, but I read non-fiction. So that's what I'm interested in. My wife reads a lot of fiction books. That's just not for me. But I like reading stuff which adds stuff, skills to like the toolkit kind of thing. So I like reading stuff, not everyone does. So therefore, you kind of there's a video for every single concept in the book, which took me a lot of time to kind of film and edit and stuff. But then likewise, even if you read the book, understand the concept for what is a sales act, how do you run a sales pipeline, watch the video, you can hear me talk about it. I have a whiteboard and I walk it all through. And then often most people would still like to say, Steve, am I understanding this correct? Can you just clarify this? And it's like, yeah, you know, and like at the moment, so I do live Q&As on LinkedIn Live and YouTube and Twitter and stuff every Friday morning at 9 o'clock. But the plan is eventually to do them every day. But then likewise, the other thing that I've started to look at is how, again, I'm ambitious, I'm going for this, is that at the moment, everything's in English. I had a meeting yesterday and it's about doing a lot of different languages, different textbooks. But likewise, when I get my proper studio space, doing early morning sessions, which are relevant to the Far East, because I know from one of my clients is in South Korea. So for instance, 8 a.m. here is 5 p.m. their time. So therefore I could do an 8 a.m. Q&A session for the Asian market, midday for UK, and then late at night for West Coast USA. But I'm already starting to look at how do I grow and scale this, work with different partners, because I see this all as a big game. I almost don't treat it as being real. But again, before when you were saying about how when you first start out, you're really looking after every penny, and you absolutely should. Everything's, you know, a cost, and it's how do you survive until you're kind of generating cash. I wrote a post. It was after I'd done my first tax return for that period. It was my first 6 months, and this was the kind of when I'd first set up. COVID had just kind of hit. That I was making money, but not much. But then you fast forward a year, and it's a different scenario. And what I was trying to get across is that, you know, if you're in the first 6 months of starting out, don't panic if you're not making as much money as you think you should or want to. It will come through. And ironically now, with my tax year runs until I guess the 4th of April, I'm now looking at how much money can I spend between now and April to get my tax bill down. But it's just the, you know, the balance of when, if you put in the hard work, you actually do things properly, it will pay off. It does work. But often, people just want to pick your brains and almost understand, what do I do next? And that's almost the USP of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, yeah, that's a good point, that about like trusting the process, but following the process as well, and stick, like getting really clear on what it is that you want to do, and then just focusing on that every day and following it up with that real world action. So that's, you know, when you were talking about visualization before, I do talk a lot about this whole thoughts become things idea, which I didn't really know much of until the end of 2019, but I totally believe in that now, that most people don't actually know what they want to do. They're doing things that they think they should do, or people have told them they should do, or their loved ones or their family or whatever, teachers, whatever, their friends, that they're doing that. But so most people go through the whole life not knowing what they really want, right? But if you do spend some time getting really clear on what it is that you want, like really focus on that. But if you focus on it every single day and follow it up with some real world action, doesn't matter how big or small, if you're doing something that's getting you a little bit closer to that end thing, and then trying not to be distracted by other things that come along if they don't fully align. I mean, sometimes you will, you know, because you need to keep yourself motivated and inspired and excited, but that is hard to do, but it is doable. And if you stick at it, which is what you're doing and what I'm trying to do as well, is you will achieve what you want if you just keep on that path. And I think definitely the Roadmap MBA guides people through that step by step. So I'm going to talk a bit now about what I like about it, right? So well, first thing I was just saying is, like, you know, you don't just tell people what to do. You know, there are, every module in it, you're asking people to actually do a bit of work in there, you know, actually getting people to write into the textbook their own thoughts and ideas on different topics. But I really like the beginning bit as well, that before the modules get underway, where the first section is actually asking people to think about and articulate what their objectives are. And that you're saying, most people don't know and never get asked.
But for most business turnarounds or whatever, and this is my day job. I do this every day, and I pick up the phone and I sell for clients, and I do this every day. But if you don't have a definitive goal for actually, I want to achieve this by then, you just run in the dark. You might as well have a blindfold on. That you kind of, ironically, the first module is my least favorite chapter in the book, because it's quite woolly. Like, some people will love the whole visualization thing and putting down aims and goals. And actually, me 5 years ago would have loved it. But I also know that some people just don't like that. They don't like the fanciful setting goals for 2 years' time. But it's still an important thing that when you're looking to plan either your next career move or your business growth or whatever, because the plan could just be, how do I survive the next 12 months? Coronavirus has been shit. I'm not making any money. How do I just get through the next 12 months? And that's when you then go into your lead actions and really understand how you generate revenue and what to do, you can actually break it down to the point where if you say, look, if I approach 5 people every day with a very nice chat, I call them chatter blinds, just 5 people every day, you'll be good. You'll survive the year. You'll do well. But most people just shoot in the dark. They don't know what to do. And it's just having that confidence to kind of follow it through.
Yeah.
But
that's why it is important to try and get clear on what you're trying to achieve, because otherwise there's a what's it called? I can't remember. There's a famous entrepreneur investor who'll come back to us, and he talks about how weaponized distraction is the biggest challenge for people these days. Like there's people who, like technology, media, it's their job, their business is to distract you from what you want to do, right? You've got to get really focused and almost blinkered to what you want to do. Otherwise, you'll not achieve what you want to do. So it is
on that topic though, is that again in the meeting that I had probably now an hour and a half ago, I was talking with the guy, and it was when you meet people that say want to set up as a consultant and they want to do it for the lifestyle and the prestige or whatever. It's very easy, and I mean very easy, that when you work out your ecosystem, you work out, well, actually, if I charge this company £2,000 a month to do this and them £3,000, whatever, you can actually very easily be caught in a trap where you're just doing other people's stuff all day, every day, that you're essentially doing 3 or 4 well-paid part-time jobs. Yeah. And the important thing to know, and for me, this is what the Roadmap MBA is that actually, if you have the North Star that you're working towards, exactly what you've just said, even if you just make a little bit of progress every day towards launching the next version or whatever, you feel emotionally fulfilled, because actually you feel like you're building something. As where people often feel lost when they're working away, they're on the treadmill. It could be in any business, any whatever, and they don't feel they're making progress. And that's the crucial thing, that if you know where you want to get to, it's always work, even if it was only 10 minutes a day on your personal development or your business development, developing the business. Over time, that will add up. Yeah. And it's if you don't do that 10 minutes, you're going to be unhappy because you're not going to go anywhere. But again, there's a big difference when you watch Gary Vee talk about it, because he's a multimillionaire and he talks the talk and some people hate him. But what I try to do, and the reason why you can see the cars in the background, I'm on Team Valley and Gateshead, when a real person does it and I'm on my own journey, hopefully it relates to a different audience. And it's that kind of thing. You know, I'm nothing special, but if I can do it, chances are, you know, you can as well. Or I'll happily help you, because that's the whole essence of everything I'm trying to do. So.
Yeah, no, but I think it's authentic, isn't it? And it's like, I think that's what people want, is they want someone to basically guide them through it who's a bit further on than they are. Like, but they're kind of just like them. They can relate to that person, and they've got, that's where the trust and authenticity comes in, because like, okay, well, I can see you've done it, or you're doing it. You're a bit further ahead than I am, so yeah, I'm going to listen to what you're saying, rather than, yeah, I love Gary Vee, I watch his videos, but like, he's just, what he does is not relatable to what I'm not. Gary Vee, my personality is not. You're not Gary Vee. He's loud, obnoxious, a bit like in your face, but he's entertaining, and he's got some great ideas. And he is a practitioner. He's very insightful, but he has a team of 11 people following him around, filming everything he does. And but yeah, no. So I can see why people are drawn to him. But I watch people like him when I just need a bit of like motivation and kind of jam myself up, sort of thing. But so yeah, so talk about that, getting clear on what it is that you want to do, and then just quickly, actually, before I forget, sometimes I'll get people say to me, "Oh, should I do this or not?" You know, they're a bit stuck. They don't know, and I'll say, "Well, does that get closer to where you want to be, or not?
Does it make you happy? If it doesn't make you happy, do it."
Well, exactly. I mean, it might make them happy in the short term, or it might, but it's like, well, you know, you've said this is what you want to do. Is that going to get you closer to that, or is it just a diversion? So that's why it's important to get clear on what you want.
I was going to say, I've got a question. Don't you like about it?
Oh, well, hang on. I'm going to tell you a bit more what I like. Yeah, okay. So I especially like the the module on sales and selling. And I think that's a really chunky section, which a lot of people struggle with. I don't know whether it's a British thing or a Northern thing, or I think it's a British thing, definitely. And you know, a lot of people that I deal with, they're brilliant at what they do, but they're uncomfortable at selling. So, and I know myself, I'm guilty of sometimes being way too passive. You know, I'm very good at getting people engaged, interested, aware of what I'm doing or what other people are doing. And then sometimes I'm guilty of just assuming they know what I'm doing, and they don't. Sometimes you do need to spoon feed people and turn that engagement, that awareness converted into a sale. And often it's literally nothing more than just a question like, do you want it or not? Like, kind of.
It's funny because I think it's actually in the strategy section. I think it's in section 4. It's really important to ask other people, what do you think I do? Because people can't buy your stuff if they don't understand it. That's like the very start.
Yeah.
And it's often, people often get too clever. Like, we know a lot of very good copywriters, which is brilliant, but people often they're not very good at really just say what it is. What can people buy? But then the other thing is that when you actually go through to the sales kind of modules, if you genuinely believe that what you're going to send people adds value, it's not crap, it's going to help them solve a problem they have. There's a whole section on actually overcoming the main mental barriers that people have when they do sales, which covers things like people will think I'm harassing them, they won't want me to follow up. And there's lots of things which everyone struggles with. I struggle with because I do sales for other people. But actually, if you have genuine belief in what you're selling and you pitch it in the right way, which is respectful, go for it, because actually you're helping other people. And I think there's loads of people, and I could name them, but who do very good sales training courses, but they're really expensive. Or it's a one-day thing, which, you might go and you might get me inspired. But 4 months down the line, are you actually keeping up the competencies and picking up the phone and doing the basics? And one of the kind of things that I see quite often, I had a chat with an MD yesterday about this, is that it's very easy to fall into the trap to do more marketing, more promotion. Should we do a podcast? Should we do whatever? When the bit they're missing is picking up the phone, sending out samples, and actually just saying, look, Paul, how can we work together? I like you, you like me, I trust you, I see the value that you can bring. How can we work together? Or in a second case, you do your marketing to raise awareness on your offer, and actually just say, look, what do I have to do to win the business? I have respect that you work with competitor X. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And there's a whole section, I think there's 22 points on sales qualifying. And what you're there to do is really just listen and understand and figure out what their pain point is. Because if that client is 100% happy with their provider, you just move on to someone else, but you've still offered to help their pain. Is where if they genuinely have a problem. So for instance, for me, one of the big issues that I have, because again, I'm shooting for the top, is that my web presence, e-commerce, VAT invoicing, to do with the website, it's good, but it's not as good as it could be. It's not as good as an Amazon type thing, fulfillment. That's my next goal. I have a genuine pain point to figure out how, as a business, when I send out my packs, and you might be able to see some on the floor, is almost, I use Royal Mail Click and Collect, but a bigger company, when someone places an order, the label will come out automatically. That's a pain point I have. If people actually asked me, they could solve that problem. And therefore, my point is for it to do with sales. It's all about understanding your market, understanding the problems that they actually have. And then if you can solve it, brilliant. You've helped them out. You've helped them achieve their goal. And I think the real problem that people have with sales is when their heart isn't actually in what they're offering. They feel like they're shoveling crap. And it's just, that's when sales falls down, because you know in your heart that what you're offering is the same as someone else. And this is where it's really important to get your strategy right. That even if you offer the exact same product, you sell these Starbucks cups for 18 quid each. At the moment, you have a lot of companies that are struggling to do with cash flow. Offer them at 60-day or 90-day payment terms compared to your competitors. You're going to win the business, because that's going to help them. And this is where throughout the whole course, it's even just helping people think of these kind of things. Because if you get the offer right, no matter what it is that you sell, you can do very well. And the trick is, most people just don't know what to do, or haven't put themselves in the client's shoes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of what you're saying there, and I guess what you do and what I do, it's more consultative selling. So you're finding out what they need and what the pain points are, and then you're providing a solution for them. But you're not just saying this is my product, this is all I sell, buy it. You're not just like trying to hammer it into them, and you're not selling things that people don't want. That's nobody wants to do that. So you only want to sell things, solutions to people. I think that's the best way to think of sales, is you're selling a solution. Like that person or that business is going to be better off if they buy this thing that I'm offering, this product or service. And once you get that into your head, I think if anyone who's struggling with sales, if they think it's a dirty word, or they've got negative connotations with selling, like dodgy car salesman or whatever, that's not, or cold callings trying to sell you something that you've got no interest in, and like, why are they even calling you, sort of thing. But if you genuinely believe in what you're doing and what you're offering, and you can see that this thing is going to add value to that person, why in a way you're doing them a disservice by not telling them about it. That's the way to think of it.
But I think the challenge is that, so my wife's a solicitor. She's exceptionally good at what she does. She does employment law. And, in terms of solving the technical issue to do with an employment tribunal, she'll nail it. But she's never been taught how to sell.
Yeah.
And the issue is, if you work for a law firm, everyone wants to grow, everyone wants to bring in new clients, but nobody teaches you what should we do? How should we do it? How do we pitch ourselves? Why is Muckle different to Ward Hadaway? What's our USP? Who do we approach? How often do we approach them? What's the chat line? What to expect? And that's what I'm trying to solve with the Roadmap MBA. That almost it's applicable to almost everyone. And but my point is, it's that often people will just. I was asked yesterday, because I'm actually going to get my branding redone, and it's in the questionnaire that people always ask you, and they should ask you, who are your competitors? Who do you compete against? And there's always people that you can talk about who you think your competitors are. But there's also do nothing. And actually, the option for people to do nothing and just stay the same is probably what 90% of people are going to do. So you need to be able to offer, and this is part of the reason why I send the packs out to people, is to say, look, if this is of value to you, brilliant, we can have a chat. But if it's not, keep it as a gift, and that's fine. But people don't know what they don't know. And it's that kind of thing of the more you can almost get into the mind of your consumer to really understand the world that they're in. And again, this is all in the kind of strategy module. That's when you can build a really successful business. That, like, it's nice that you said that the price point is the right level, because I've had that feedback from other people. But that's only through working in the businesses, knowing, that money's quite tight. What would they spend on stuff to help boost sales? At what point is almost, someone told me yesterday, it's a no-brainer kind of level. That's why it's priced at £300, then it drops to 150 per person. Because actually, if your billing target for your sales guy is 200 grand a year, if you can make him 1% better, you've got 5 times your investment back. If you can make him 10 or 20% better, which I think you can, it's an absolute no-brainer. But it's only through really understanding the customer that I could have said, oh, it's 3,000 quid a go, which would still be a fifth the price of a proper MBA. But it would hit the target market, which is rough and ready SMEs. And that's, for anyone, the more you understand who you want to work with, you can do really well. It's just about asking questions. So again, with the course, and people do say to me, look, what do you think about this? And it's just giving them honest feedback, that because I've kind of been there, I want people to be successful. And it's just, again, it's hopefully part of the service and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love it. Well, you're doing all the right things. The other thing, just quickly on sales, is what I've figured out is quite recently, really, like, people don't like vagueness. Like people are so busy doing their own thing that they haven't got time to look into. That's why you need to be really clear and on what you're offering. So, I mean, I can see some of the comments coming in through here. From people who are watching it live, saying, and I had it last year, and definitely last year, where I had lots of people getting in touch saying, we've heard loads of good things about you, but we don't know what you do. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem with it. I don't want that. I want people to know exactly what I do. So I reviewed all my bios on social media and made it really clear and succinct, not only what I do, but who I'm for, like who my target audience is. And since then, my audience has changed slightly. I'm being followed on social media by the types of people that I want, as well as the other people. But like I'm getting more. I'm doing a bit of qualification up front, really, because people are like, oh well, that's not me, so he's not for me.
But that's good sales prospecting. Because the other thing which you'll see if you go into roadmapmba.com, not for a plug, but anyway, but I also make a point to say, look, who this is not for.
Yeah.
So likewise, I purposely designed the course, which is for SMEs, for most people to make that next step. And by most people, I mean like 95% of people. There's a guy called Mark Ritson, who's the world leader and expert. He's a professor in marketing. You probably know who he is. Really top guy. This isn't for him. If you are a world leader and expert in sales, this isn't for you. This is a generalist course for most people. That's why the price point is so low. But my point is, when you also second guess, you know the criticism that you're going to get. It's part of the reason why I got it CPD certified, is because the same guy that I mentioned at the start of the talk, he'd be like, who the hell does this guy think he is? Why should I listen to Steve Pugh? I wanted that independent stamp to say, actually, look, we've been through this with a fine-tooth comb. We've added in the quizzes to make sure, the understanding is there. We've made it better, but actually this is all right. This is good. And I wanted that stamp of approval just to kind of diffuse any potential negatives that some people will think. But then likewise, if this isn't for you, or you just hate me, or you hate online learning, just do a different course. That's fine.
That's fine. That's better for you as well, isn't it? Like, that's better for all of us. You don't want to be working with people that don't want to work with you, and also why waste your time and their time? Exactly. Move on to the next thing. So love all that. What else have I written here? Yeah, just I really like the module on the social side of business as well. So meetings, networking, hosting events, having fun is really important. You should, otherwise why start your own business if you're not going to enjoy it, right? And so I think that is a really, really good section as well. And adding value. And interest. So what we put here, adding value outside of your interest. I think that's a really good point that you make there, that shouldn't just be trying to sell yourself or your products and services. So if you can add something of value to people, even if they're not going to buy something off you, that's so good. And that's where your trust and authenticity will come in. If people, I think, not blowing me on trumpet, but I think that's why in the past people have liked what I do, because they think, they see that I'm neutral, impartial. I'll try and do what's best for them and others as well.
If you remember back to the first time we did meet, which is at Founders Friday, new audience to me, I didn't know the people at the time, and I sat at the back and I just watched, because I'm a people watcher. And I actually said to you at the end, because we never met before, I'd seen the photos and I'd seen you around, I'd seen the Lord Lancaster, and I said to you, I thought you were being too nice to people. But sometimes you need the kind of the critical friend in a nice way, that I want you to be successful. But likewise, if you try and please everyone, there's a lot of people, I call them time vampires. They will suck your time for their selfish aims, but they have no intention to help you out. And likewise, I remember a few years ago, there was a lady who was trying to move from Aberdeen to do business in the northeast of England. And she was like, look, can you introduce me to people? And I gave her this brilliant list, set her up, all this. I put a lot of effort in. She didn't even say thank you. And what it then done is that I've just now, in a mental way, I've just crossed her off my list. That you got to play the game, as in likewise, that if you're hosting an event by a law firm, play the game, talk to them, listen to them, give them intelligence, because that's how you be successful. Because then likewise, it's a small world that people will know. Like, I think we're about the same age, but we're probably going to be around for quite a long time. That if you know someone is very selfish, or they treat people badly, or they screw them over, or they don't pay, you're going to tell other people. And actually, what was really interesting, so we both know Jenny Smith from Network and Know Who. I was listening to her interview, might even be with you, and she was talking about how when you network and you meet people, you don't just meet that person, you meet every single person that person has ever met and ever will meet. Because like, if you've got some brilliant of value and they appreciate that, they're going to tell people about it. And that's where I think if you do things with good moral intent, and you're not afraid to kind of communicate on video and kind of put yourself out there, if people like what you do, they'll tell more people.
That's spot on. And you are doing that. I know you are doing that. But it goes back to, Yeah, I mean, you had a point what you're saying there, but I mean that is my style, is to create platforms and opportunities for other people. I'm not the star of Founders Friday or Newcastle Startup Week. I'm creating an opportunity and a platform for others, right? But there is a benefit to me in that I am the host. I'm seen as the host. I bring that together and the super connector, you know, and then it does pay off in other ways. You know, I get sponsorship, or I get consultancy, or people come to my Startup Week event or whatever. But also what I've done now is obviously reposition the Newcastle Startup Week website to be less about the physical events, and now it's an all year round resource. So everything up until now has been, I guess, brand building, you know, and awareness building of everything I'm doing. But like what you're doing is, there is a limit to how many hours in the day. Like, I would love to just help people and drink coffee and go for lunches and do that all day. I can't. Like, I've got to pay the bills as well, right? I'm not a charity, right? But so the way I've done that, and you're doing it as well, is the free offer is the videos, you know, is the blog, it's the podcast, it's the social media content that you share, and that's the free offer, right? Then if somebody wants a bit more of a deeper connection, bit more of my time, they have to pay. They're going to have to pay something or contribute in some way, and that is the Startup Week community. So they get that 1 hour consultation and they get 12 months support. If they want, like you say, if they want even deeper, 5 days, they have to pay even more. And then if they want ongoing support, that's even more. So, but until last year, I didn't really have that. It was all the event. It was the physical event once a year, and everybody could benefit from that. But it was beyond the event. I didn't really have a range of products or services that people could buy, and yeah, I
planted the seed to build the ecosystem.
I'm sure you did. No, I think you did. You know, I think you definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I am good at listening and absorbing, and it might take a few months or longer to chew it over, and then I believe that when the time's right, you know, that you do that. So there's things I'm doing now that I've been thinking of doing or talking about doing for 6 months, 12 months, maybe long ago. But it's only now that everything's coming to come together, and conversations with yourself and others have influenced that. That's why it's good to talk to people about it, because I do believe that when you talk things through, it becomes more real when you verbalize it. And it helps you get that clarity that we talked about earlier about what you want to do and how you're going to do it.
But you still need to surround yourself with good people. Good people are actually doing it. You always have people at a pity party, and it's a negative influence. And don't surround surround yourself with people that aren't actually doing and actively growing and stuff, because they'll take your time, they'll slow you down. And it's almost, you know, just having mentors and different people. So actually, it's funny that my mentors are people that I read the books from, and I take inspiration from loads of different places. But I'm one of these people where, because if I learn something good on YouTube through my live stream, so one of the recent things is I have a clock in the corner in today's date that's live. If I learn how to do it today, I'm going to use it tomorrow. I'll just keep running. And then likewise, if my feed doesn't work, I'll just keep learning. And the point is, don't be afraid to fail. Just kind of do it. And actually, it was a real gem that, again, Jenny Smith came up with when I interviewed on a podcast. And she went on this brilliant monologue about how I think most people are too scared to fail, that it paralyzes them from actually doing anything.
Yeah.
And I get it, because I feel the same. So it's funny, even when you said that there's comments coming in, I can't see them. And you inherently worry, I hate this guy.
They're all positive. They're all really positive. So afterwards, you can go back and see them all on LinkedIn and reply to them all. But no, they're all positive. Don't worry about that.
Fair enough. What don't you like about the course?
Nothing yet. I mean, I suppose the thing is, well, the only thing I would say is I didn't realize just how good it was until you sent it, until I received it through the post. You know what I mean? So it's like, I knew you launched it. Right, well, in the videos, but you know, like, you know, I've seen some of your videos. I knew you were doing all this stuff, but I didn't realize just how good it was until I received it. So it's not really a criticism. It's more just that's why it's important that more people see it and can hold it and touch it and experience it for themselves. So I would encourage anybody who's watching this, either for themselves or for if they know anybody that's either in business or thinking of starting a business, to buy a copy. So buy a copy for yourself or buy a copy for them, and you buy one get one free. You could do that really nicely. Get it as a birthday present. What have we got? Easter present. Easter's coming up. You've got all this stuff coming up.
But gift one, most people can also gift anonymously.
Yeah.
So I've had people say, actually, I don't want to know who it is, but because likewise, you get a good vibe off people that you want to help out. In which case, I'll send them a free course because I want them to do well. But this is for in time. If Google ever buys 1,000 copies, imagine the community across Newcastle that we could help with that. And that's the real, one of the things, again, that I'm struggling with, and again, just because I'm busy doing my day job, is a lot of the community engagement with the communities that I probably want to help that are underrepresented in business and that kind of thing. It's to give them a way that they might not want to learn from me, but the content is still good, that it can help them do their own thing. But one of the other things that's been quite exciting is that I've got customers in Nigeria, Latvia, told arrived today, Ireland, USA, and I launched this 3 weeks ago. And actually, I had a chat with them yesterday, and this, I won't go into too much detail, but it's about properly hitting hundreds of thousands of people to do with their ecosystem. And it's just how, for me, the value is in, I like seeing people get value from it. And again, just because everyone's busy, everyone's got a job to do. And it's the fact that you're a salesman in a business and you've got targets and you're busy and you've got homeschooling kids and stuff, but you still want to hit your target because actually that bonus might make a massive difference to paying off your mortgage or going on holiday this year. And it's just the fact you can just skip straight to that section. There's no exams. I'm not going to judge you. And just think, actually, I never thought to do that. That's quite clever. And you can make a real impact today in a way that's what I take pride in. So
I love it. Well, like I said before, congratulations. I think it's fantastic, and I do hope that lots of people buy the Roadmap MBA. So so we'll just remind. So it's roadmapmba.com, and people can order it online now. So they order. They join the program, they pay for that, and then they get the textbook through the post. Is that the way it works?
Because it's when you go through this process, and again, I'll judge some of my own criticisms, was that the original box that I wanted to send it in, it's quite a nice thing, but when you actually send stuff in the postal service, they can get knocked about a bit. So one of the learnings after the first week was actually I now send things in, because it's all sustainable materials, in recycled mailing bags just to hold it all together. But then the other thing which got me was that when you order something on Amazon, if it comes literally the next day, it's a little delighter. You get, oh, that was good. And you imagine, you feel that there's quality of service and stuff. So it's a little bit harder with international shipping because that takes a bit longer. But, I've had it where yesterday, lady placed an order at 3:30. She had it this morning. Right. And it's that kind of thing. I just try, Jeff Ram, who talks about his celebrity service. But what you're trying to do is just, what is the best you could possibly do to make this the best possible experience for Paul Lancaster to move forward, or Suki, or Anne English, or whoever. Everyone has different challenges. But actually, what is the best possible way that you could help someone with their professional development, personal development, business education? And that's what I'm trying to achieve. And it's all these little learnings that hopefully, I'm actually quite excited to show you what's going to happen over the next 6 months, because you're going to see it. That it was only 6 months ago, I was in my bedroom the first time I interviewed you for the podcast. Then in November, I moved to here. In April, maybe May, you might see me move again. But the hope is you'll just see things improve. And it's just, I'm trying my best. And that's all I can kind of say or do.
You're already at a high level. So, it's only going to get better for you, bigger and better for you. Just last thing I'll say as well, I think students, it's not just people who are in business. When they go through it, there's advice in here that I think college students, university students, because there's advice on progressing in your career as well. So it's not just for business owners. So I think anybody who's interested in the world of work, starting businesses, growing businesses, whatever level, can get something of benefit from the Roadmap MBA. So yeah,
especially if you're a student, blag for free. Don't pay for it. If you're a student, don't pay for it. Make someone else pay for it. But
get your parents to or your teachers to buy some. I can see. I don't know if you are having conversations with educational establishments, but I think that education, further education, higher education, should consider buying some copies.
Cool. I'm really conscious, and I'm only saying this because I do interviews as well. I think people might get bored if we talk for too long. If you have two people that love talking and love talking about topics,
I will end it there. I know, because it's just been over an hour. So no, I've loved talking to you, Steve, and honestly, I'm really impressed with everything that you do. And from the moment I met you, I was just like really, really impressed with you and the way you carry yourself, and the quality of everything that you do, but the quality of the advice, and the genuine kind of I don't know, the genuine interests that you give to other people as well. You are trying to make a difference and helping others progress in what they're doing. So keep doing what you're doing, Steve. All right. Okay.
If anyone's got any questions, 9 a.m. tomorrow, but on my LinkedIn Live, ask whatever you want. And it's there. It's questions@roadmapmba.com. Any question about your career, business, anything, just drop it in, and I'll do my best to answer it.
Amazing. All right. Okay, we'll leave it there. All right. Thanks, Steve. Enjoy the rest of it. Okay.
Bye-bye.